Dear students, in this video we are going to study the continuation of the story The Hack Driver. But he was no more dishonest man. I charged the whole thing to the firm, but it would have been worth paying him myself to have his presence. What does he say? He has paid him for 6 hours. Okay, so that means $12 per hour. The agreement was $2. Now it is 6 hours. So $12 also for the lunch hour he paid. Besides, he says the work that he did, hack driver Bill did, was not because of brotherly love. He also did a business, but at the same time, I liked him because of his cheerfulness. He is a wonderful person. So he liked his companionship more, and that is why he was happy. Though his work was not fulfilled, he was not able to find new kids. But he was no more dishonest than I. So what does he say? I have paid him from the money of the law firm. I should have also paid him from my own pockets. That much good he was. That much kind he was. I charged the whole thing to the firm, but it would have been worth paying him myself to have his presence. His cheerful country wisdom was very refreshing to a country-like boy, myself who was sick of the city. As we sat on the hilltop, looking over the pastures and the creek with slipped among the trees, he talked of New Mullion and painted a picture in words of all the people in it. So as they were sitting there at the hilltop, under the creek, under the trees, he was talking. That Bill was talking to him about New Mullion. So that was a wonderful experience. He remembers it. He noticed everything, but no matter how much or how he might laugh at people, he also understood and forgave their foolishness. He also laughed, the young clerk laughed at the people for their behavior, for their way of talking, but he loved them. He forgave them for all that, but he loved them for their honesty, for their wisdom. He described the minister's wife who sang the loudest in the church when she was most in debt. So he is talking about all the observations, all that he found in the village in New Mullion. He commented on the boys who came back from college in fancy clothes. So the college boys, they came back from their college and they were wearing fancy clothes. He is commenting, making fun of their clothes. He is talking about all that, but still he likes that place. He likes especially Bill, the hack driver. He told about the lawyer whose wife could never succeed in getting him to put both a collar and a tie on the same day. He made them all live. On that day, I came to know New Mullion better than I did the city and to love it better. So with all these experiences, he says that his life in New Mullion was much better than the city life. The city life was not so good. He did not enjoy the city life. He knows only about the city life. He did not want to come to New Mullion, a faraway place, a remote area from the city in search of Oliver Lutkins. But now he has found that was a rustic life much better, much happier than the city life. So with this points in mind, I have given you a question. Please write it down at the side of the textbook. How does the narrator, that is the young clerk, compare the city life with that of the rustic life? How does he compare? So please write down this question I will ask you to tell me the answer as I complete this lesson. Okay, please be ready with the answer in your mind. I might ask anybody. Okay. Bill didn't know about the colleges and cities, but he had traveled around a lot of the country and had a lot of jobs. From his adventures, he had brought back a philosophy of simplicity and laughter. He strengthened me. See, Bill is a simple man, okay, 40 years old, okay, very simple, very good, very kind, very cheerful. He has not been to college, he has not studied much, but he has traveled around, okay, he has gone around different places and he has got a philosophy of his life. What is the philosophy of his life? Simplicity and joy. Okay, so that energized me. I have learned from him. I have learned from the hack driver. Though his job was not complete, he says that he has learned lesson from the hack driver. We left that peaceful scene of meadows and woods. So he is talking about the experience that they had under the tree. Okay? Under the grape, they were talking about the place, New Mullion. Okay, that Bill was narrating to him. And after that, after some time, they left. We left that peaceful scene of meadows and woods. We resumed our search of Oliver Lutkins. We could not find him. At last, Bill cornered a friend of Lutkins and made him admit what he guessed. Oliver's gone to his mother's farm 3 miles north. So they knew that Oliver is not there. So Bill knows about the people, knows about the place. So he went to one of his friends. Okay, cornered means he approached one of the friends and asked about Oliver. Okay, and as he guessed, he said that he has gone to the mother's house 3 miles from there. Okay, we drove out there laying plants. Okay, so we drove out to the mother's house and we had plants. Okay, different plants for that. I know Oliver's mother. She is a terror. Oliver's mother is a terror, Bill says. I took a trunk out there for her. Once I have taken a trunk and she almost took my skin off because I didn't treat it like a box of eggs. He is about 9 feet tall and 4 feet thick and quick as a cat. And she sure can talk. I'll bet Oliver heard that somebody's chasing him and he's gone on there to hide behind his mother's skirts. Well, we'll try for her. We'll try her. But you'd better let me do it, boy. You may be great at literature and law, but you haven't had a real training in swearing. Okay? So Bill says, I will do the job for you. I will go to the mother's house of Oliver. I shall tell you, I shall find out the trace of him. Okay, with your address, if they come to know that you have come in search of him, he would already run. Okay, he would chase. You are in chase of him, he would have already gone. He would fly. He would not be there. So you don't do it. I will do it for you. So he was such a very helpful person. Bill was such a very helpful person for him. We drove into a poor farmyard. Okay, the farmyard wherein the mother's house is. We were faced by an enormous and cheerful old woman. My guide bravely went up to her and said, Remember me? Do you remember me? I am Bill Magnuson, the carter and the hackman. I want to find your son, Oliver. So I just want to find out your son. I don't know anything about Oliver and I don't want to, she shouted. So here you also come to know something more about Oliver. He comes home and the mother is not aware. So he is such a rogue. Okay, he is a robber. He goes around, he takes money from people and he doesn't return. So her mother also has no control over Oliver. So that is what we learn from here. Now, look here. We have heard just about enough nonsense. This young man represents the court in the city. So the matter is conveyed to the mother. We have searched and now this is what we have come here for. The young man has come here in search of Oliver because he has been summoned by the court several times and he has not reported, and that is why we have come here in search of him. And we have a legal right to search all properties for this Oliver Lutkins. So the matter has been conveyed to the mother. Bill made me sound very important and the woman was impressed. Okay, the hack driver Bill gave an impression that I am somebody great. Okay, the woman was impressed. Who is the woman? The mother of Oliver. She was impressed. She retired into the kitchen. So what did she do? She went to the kitchen and we followed her. We followed her to the kitchen. What did she do? She seized an iron from the old-fashioned stove and marched on us shouting, "You search all you want to, if you don't mind getting burnt first." She shouted and laughed at our frightened retreat. What did she do? They thought that she was good. She impressed him. But what did she do? She went to the kitchen, took one iron rod, and she was chasing Bill and the young clerk, young lawyer. Yes, let's get out of here. She will murder us, Bill whispered. So if you are here, she will murder us with that. Outside, he said, did you see her smile? She was laughing at us. See, outside you should have noticed her. Though she was chasing us with iron rod, she was laughing at us. I agreed. The narrator agreed that it was pretty disrespectful treatment. The treatment was horrible. We did, however, search the house. Since it was only one story high, we went around it, peering in at all windows. We examined the barn and stable. We were reasonably certain that Lutkins was not there. We searched everywhere in that house. We went to the barn, we went to the stable, we went to each and every nook and corner, but we didn't find Lutkins. It was nearly time for me to catch the afternoon train, and Bill drove me to the station. So it was time for me to take the afternoon train, and Bill, that hack driver, drove me to the station. And we did not find out Lutkins there on that day. On the way to the city, I worried very little over my failure to find Lutkins. I did not worry about not having found Oliver, but I was happy to have met the person called Bill. Okay, on the way to the city, I worried very little over my failure to find Lutkins. I was too busy thinking about Bill Magnuson. Really, I consider returning to New Mullion to practice law. So he has come to the extent of saying that New Mullion was better for him to live. Okay, so he says that it would be better to live there in New Mullion than in the city. City life is compared to that rustic life is not so good. If I had found a Bill so deep and richly human, might I not grow to love Fritz and Gustav and 100 others low-spoken, simple, wise neighbors. So he has learned something from this experience. I admire this person, Bill, and I done this. So this also means that the others in that village, they are also good. Okay, they are also very good, cheerful, helpful, okay, hospitable. They are helping. Okay, so that is what he has learned. So that is why he says they are wise neighbors. They help each other. I pictured an honest and happy life beyond the strict limits of universities and law firms. I was excited. I had found a treasure. I had discovered a new way of life. So he talks about his experience of having learned lessons for his life in the rural area, New Mullion. That was the best in his lifetime, which he has not seen in the city. In the early, burly, busy life, he has not learned much. He has learned so much in the few hours which he had spent in the rustic area. Okay. But if I did not think much about Lutkins, the office said, there is no I see. I have not thought much about Lutkins, though I have come here to find him about. I am thinking about Bill because he has laid an impression in my life. I found them all upset. Next morning, the case was coming up in the court, and they had to have Lutkins. I was a shameful, useless fool. That morning, my promising legal career almost came to an end before it had begun. So I am a young lawyer. I have come in search of this person, but I was not able to get him. Now I am made a fool in the court. Okay, I am made fun by everybody. So I thought my career had come to an end when it is supposed to begin. When it is supposed to flourish, it is floundering. That is what I thought. So much my experience in the court on that day is miserable. Okay, something which I never wanted to have. First, I did not want to go to the village. I went there and I enjoyed it. Now my experience in the law court is miserable, which I not want to have. I am made a fool of myself by everyone. The chief almost murdered me. In the court, he is talking about his experience. The chief in the court has almost murdered me. He hinted that I might do well at digging ditches. Okay, so this is a colloquial expression. It's just like you also say in your mother tongue. Okay, go and catch mosquitoes or rats or go to graze cows, etc. You are not good for this job. You are useless, etc. All these things were said when you don't do what is expected of you. So that was not what he was expected to do, expected to have done. Okay, so they made fun of him. You go and dig ditches. This job is not a fit job for you. I was ordered back to New Mullion. They said, go back to New Mullion again. Okay, go back and then you do what is needful. So he was ordered back to New Mullion, and with me went a man who had worked with Lutkins. Okay, with him there was also somebody else who had worked with Lutkins. Okay, we both went together to New Mullion. I was rather sorry because it would prevent my laughing all over again with Bill. I felt bad because again I have to go there and roam around and the experience is going to be miserable. So I did not want to go there, but I am going because I am a junior clerk, junior lawyer, and I have to do what I am asked to do in order to grow, in order to progress in my career. So I am going to New Mullion again. Okay, when the train arrived, now they have reached New Mullion. Bill was on the station platform near his cart. So that hack driver was at the station. Okay. Strangely enough, that old tigress, who is that old tigress? The old tigress is the mother of Oliver Lutkins, one who chased them with the iron rod. Old tigress Lutkins' mother was there talking and laughing with Bill, not quarreling at all. There she was chasing when they went to her house. She chased them with the iron rod, but now she is talking with Bill, just laughing and making fun. From the train steps, I pointed Bill out to my companion and said, somebody has accompanied him. Somebody has accompanied Bill, so he is telling him, see, that's a fine fellow, that fine fellow is a real man. I spent the day with him on that day. He's a wonderful gem of a boy. He helped you hunt for Lutkins? Yes, he helped me. Yes, he helped me a lot. He must have his Lutkins himself. He helped you, but you know, the tragedy is that he must have his Lutkins himself. He is that fellow. He is Lutkins. What I really heard, what really hurt me was that when I served the summons, Lutkins and his mother laughed at me as though I were a bright boy of 7. Okay. So when I went there again in search of them, I was again being laughed at by them as if I was a 7-year-old boy. Okay. So who is that fellow who took him? With loving kindness, they begged me to go with them to a neighbor's house for a cup of coffee. So they took me to the neighbor's house for a cup of coffee, and they said, I told them about you and they are anxious to look at you. Said Lutkins joyfully, they are about the only folks in the town that missed seeing you yesterday. So the young clerk went there and he had been noticed, observed by everybody. Everybody saw him. And it was Lutkins who had taken him around, taken him over to places. But he was not aware. And when he had come there, the second time he came to know that it was Lutkins. In the village, they all learnt that he is a new stranger, new fellow who is in search of him. And they are all together, which does not take place in the city. Okay? In the city, they would easily have betrayed. They would easily have showed, this is Lutkins, you catch him and go. But in the village, they are all united, they are all together. Okay? So this is what we learn. In this lesson, we also know the difference between the life in the city and the life in the village. Okay? So with this, we complete this lesson. I am going to ask you some questions, so please be brisk when I ask you the question. The first question goes to Madhumita. Very simple question. Okay? Only you are very obedient. Others have covered their faces. They are behind the screen. Only you are visible. So I am asking this question to Madhumita. Very simple question. Okay? It is being recorded. So please say the answer correctly at once. Okay? Why did the young lawyer go back to New Mullion? Why did the clerk go back? Why was he asked to go back to New Mullion? Again.
Sir, a man who knows Lutkins was sent with him to find Lutkins and bring to the court, sir.
Okay, somebody who knows Lutkins. Okay, so they have to find him. Okay, good. That's very nice. The next question goes to Guru Dava Tirumalai. Why was the young clerk made a fool in the law court? In the court, he was made a fool. Why? What was the reason?
Because he is a laughing person, sir.
Laughing person. Okay. Anybody else can help Tirumalai? You did not find Lutkins. Yes, good Chakravarti. Thank you very much. Correct answer. So let me ask you 2 or 3 more questions. After that, I shall give you chance for loud reading. Okay. Now let us find out the answer of these 3 questions. What more does Bill say about Lutkins and his family? What more does Bill say about Lutkins and his family? Who can give me the answer? Ashvika, are you there?
They have a farm which is 3 miles north, sir.
Okay.
But her mother is a real terror woman, sir.
Terror woman, yes.
She is about 9 feet tall and 4 feet thick, sir.
Very nice.
She was as quick as a cat, sir.
As quick as cat. Okay, very nice. Your face is not visible, but your photo is seen, which you sung in the Vijay TV. Okay. Next question. Does the narrator serve the summons that day? Mahima.
Sir, no, sir. The lawyer did not serve the summons on that day.
Okay, good. Next question, Saranya Karthikeyan. Who is Lutkins?
Sir, the bill was looking, sir.
Okay, good. So, very nice. Now let us do one thing. We'll have a reading the whole lesson from the beginning. Okay.
After graduating with honors, I became a junior assistant clerk in the magnificent law firm. I was sent not to prepare legal brief, but to serve summons like a cheap private detective. Summons. Like a cheap private detective. I had to go to a dirty and shadowy corners of the city to seek out my victims. Some of the larger and more self-confident ones even beat me up. I hated this unpleasant work and the side of city life it revealed to me. I even considered fleeing to my hometown where I could have been a real lawyer right away without going through this unpleasant training period. So I rejoiced one day when they sent me out to 40 miles in the country to a town called New Million to serve summons on a man called Oliver Lutkins, who needed this man as a witness in the law case, and he had ignored all our letters. When I got to New Million, my eager expectation of a sweet and simple country village were severely disappointed. Its streets were rivers of mud with rows of wooden shops, either painted a sour brown or bare of any paint at all. The only agreeable sight about the place was the delivery man at the station. He was about 40, red-faced, cheerful and thick about the middle. His working clothes were dirty and well worn, and he had a friendly manner. You felt at once that he liked people. I told him to find a man named Oliver Lutkins.
Okay, Dharanika, please continue. Dharanika.
I saw him around about an hour ago. Hard fellow to catch though, always up to something or other. He is probably trying to start up a poker game in the back of his shop. I will tell you, boy, is there any hurry about locating Lutkins? Yes, I want to catch the afternoon train back to the city. I was very important and secret about it. I will tell you what I had to hack. I will get it out and we can drive around together and find Lutkins. I know most of the places he hangs out. He was so open and friendly that I glowed with the warmth of his affection. I knew, of course, that he wanted the business, but his kindness was real. I was glad the fair money would go to this good fellow. I managed to bargain down to $2 an hour, and then he brought from his house nearby a sort of large black box on wheels. He remarked, "Well, young man, here's the carriage. and his white smile made me into an old friend. These villagers are so ready to help a stranger. He had already made it his own task to find Oliver Lutkins for me. He said, I don't want to interfere, young fellow, but my guess is that you want to collect some money from Lutkins. He never pays anybody a cent. He still owes me 50 cents on a poker game I was fool enough to play with him. He is not really bad, but it's hard to make him part with his money. If you try to collect from him in those fancy clothes, he will be suspicious and away from you. If you want, I will go to Fritz and ask him, and you can keep out of sight behind me. I loved him for this. Myself, I might never have found Lutkins. With the hack driver knowing help, I was sure of getting my man. I took him into my confidence and told him that I wanted to serve the summons on Lutkins, that the man had refused to be a witness. When his information would have quickly settled our case, the driver listened earnestly. At the end, he hit me on the shoulder and laughed. Listen, listened earnestly. At the end, he hit me on the shoulder and laughed. Well, we will give Brother Lutkins a little surprise. Let's start, driver. Most folks around here call me Mill or Magnuson. My business is called William Magnuson Fancy Carting and Hacking. Alright, Bill. Shall we proceed to Fritz? Yes, Lutkins is just as likely to be there as anywhere. Plays a lot of poker. He is good at deceiving people. Bill seemed to admire Lutkins' talent for dishonesty. I felt that if he had been a policeman, he would have fought Lutkins respectfully and jailed him with regret. Bill led me into Fritz. Have you seen Oliver Lutkins around today? Friend of his looking for him, said Bill cheerily. Fritz looked at me, hiding behind Bill. He hesitated, that admitted, yes, he was in here a little while ago. Guess he's gone over to Gustav's to get a share. Well, if he comes in, tell him I'm looking for him. We drove to Gustav's barber shop. Again, Bill went in first, and I lingered at the door. He asked not only the sweet but two customers if they had seen Lutkins. The sweet had not, he said angrily. I haven't seen him and don't care to. But if you find him, you can just collect the $35 he owes me. One of the customers thought he had seen Lutkins walking down Main Street this side of the hotel. As he climbed back into the hack, Bill concluded that since Lutkins had exhausted his credit at Gustav's, he had probably gone to Grace for a shave. At Grace's barbershop, we missed Lutkins by 5 minutes. He had just left, probably for the pool room. At the pool room, it appeared that he had just bought a pack of cigarettes and gone out. So we
Pursued him.
pursued him just behind him, but never catching him. For an hour till it was past 1 o'clock. I was hungry, but I had so enjoyed Bill's rough country opinion about his neighbors and I can whether I found Lutkins or not. How about something to eat? I suggested. Let's go to a restaurant and I will buy you lunch. Well, I ought to go home to the wife. I don't care much of these restaurants. Only 4 of them and they are bad. They tell what we will do. We will get the wife to pack up lunch for us. She won't charge you more than $50. And it would cost you more for a greasy meal in a restaurant. And we will go up to a great church and enjoy the view while we eat. I know
Okay,
that
Sayed, please continue. Sayed.
I know that being helpful to a young fellow from the city was not entirely a matter of brotherly love. I was playing him for his time. In the end, I paid him for 6 hours, including the lunch hour, at what was then a very high price.
but he was no more dishonest than I. I charged the whole thing to the film, but it would have been worth paying him myself to have his presence. His cheerful country wisdom was very refreshing to a country boy like myself, who was sick of the city. As as we sat on the hilltop, looking over the pastures and
Pastures.
as a
Pastures.
pastures, pastures and a creek which slid among the trees. He dug out new mullion and painted the picture in words of all the people in it. He noticed everything, but no matter how much he might laugh at people. He also understood and forgave their foolishness. He, he, he described the minister's wife who sang the loudest church church when she was most in debt. He commented on the boys who came back from college in fancy clothes. He told about the lawyer whose wife would never succeed in getting him to put both a collar and a tie on the same day. He made them all lie. On that day I came to know New Million better than I did the city. And to
Oliver's mother. She's a terror, Will sighed. I took a trunk out there for her once and she almost took my skin off because I didn't treat it like a box of eggs. She's about 9 feet tall and 4 feet thick and quick as a cat and she sure can talk. I'll bet Oliver heard that somebody's chasing him and he's gone on there to hide behind his mother's skirts. Well, we'll try her, but you had better let me do it. Boy, you may be great at literature and law, but you haven't had real training in swearing. We drove into a poor farmyard. We were faced by an enormous and cheerful old woman. My guide bravely went up to her and said, "Remember me, I'm Bill Magnuson, the carter and hackman. I want to find your son Oliver." "I don't know anything about Oliver, and I don't want to," she shouted. "Now look here, we have had just about enough nonsense. This young man represents the court in Mississippi, and we have a legal right to search all properties for this Oliver Wilkins." Bill made me sound very important, and the woman was impressed. She retired into the kitchen, and we followed. She seized an iron from the old-fashioned stove and marched on us shouting, "You search all you want to, if you don't mind getting burned first." He shouted and laughed at our frightened retreat. "Let's get out of here, she'll murder us," Bill whispered. "Outside," he said. "Did you see her smile? She was laughing at us." I agreed that it was pretty disrespectful treatment. We did, however, search the house. Since it was only 1 story high, Bill went round it, peering in at all the windows. We examined the barn and stable. We were reasonably certain that Wilkins was not there. It was nearly time for me to catch the afternoon train, and Bill drove me to the station. On the way to the city, I worried very little over my failure to find Wilkins. I was too busy thinking about Bill Magnuson. Really, I considered returning to New Million to practice law. If I had found Bill so deep and richly human, might I not grow to love Fritz and Gustav and 100 other slow-spoken, simple, wise neighbors? I pictured an honest and happy life beyond the strict limits of universities and law firms. I was excited. I had found a treasure. I had discovered a new way of life. But if I did not think much about Wilkins, the office did. I found them all upset. Next morning, the case was coming up in the court, and they had to have Wilkins. I was a shameful and useless fool. That morning, my promising legal career almost came to an end before it had begun. The chief almost murdered me. He hinted that I might do well at digging ditches. I was ordered back to New Million, and with me went a man who had worked with Wilkins. I was rather sorry because it would prevent me loafing all over again with Bill. When the train arrived at New Million, Bill was on the station platform near his car. Strangely enough, that old tigress, Lukin's mother, was there talking and laughing with Bill, not quarreling at all. From the train steps, I pointed Bill out to my companion and said, "There's a fine fellow, a real man. I spent the day with him." "He helped you hunt for Oliver Lukins?" "Yes, he helped me a lot. He must have. He's Lukins himself." What really hurt me was that when I served the summons, Wilkins and his mother laughed at me as though I were a bright boy of 7. With loving kindness, they begged me to go with them to a neighbor's house for a cup of coffee. "I told them about you and they're anxious to look at me," said Wilkins joyfully. "They're about the only folks in the town that miss seeing you yesterday."